Welcome, everybody. Talking Niagara this morning, and we're yep. Welcome everybody. And no, actually, this is interesting. This morning, there's no Mike Cushman before we actually go live. Saying hello.
Oh, which reminds me, there's a whole pile of stuff that Mike has sent us that we should address.
We should put together a 1 day program about that stuff. Yeah,
it's quite a Mike show with maybe invite Mike on again.
Yeah, the thing is with Mike and what you've got to do with planning that is plan it around a time when there's actually a PD day or he's off for the week, right? Because remember, he's school crossing guard in the morning.
Yes. I've done that job myself.
So here we go. Mike Cushman, good morning. There we go.
Good morning, Mike.
So moving to the show. So Carney dismisses Ford's EV anger about Chinese EVs, and my question is so if we're kind of getting ourselves out of the US market, then why can't we have both Chinese and Canadian EVs? And I think that's exactly where Carney's policy framework is trying to go. But obviously we have to set quotas because we have to protect our own industry, right? And do we have to? Are both possible? Right. I think Carney probably thinks they are. I think they are, but also I think Carney's thinking about we can get EVs here now, whereas things like the battery plant, we're only setting it up now, so it's probably not going to be active and working for possibly another 2-3 years at least.
Well, there's a couple of different things here. Now, we put 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. Trudeau did that right after Biden did it. It wasn't his own idea. It wasn't his own idea. It wasn't anything, but he wanted to be in step with Biden. And unfortunately for Canadians under Trudeau, they did whatever the U.S. did, they did kind of thing. And
unless it wasn't green. They did what the US did, unless it wasn't green.
Well, under the Biden issue, there was more greenness than ever before. And of course, DJT is trying to reverse some of that. And that's why he lost his buddy Elon Musk, because he kind of stabbed him in the back by not helping the EV market in the U.S. with some of his policies.
What Trump doesn't realize is that there's a market out there for green.
Yeah, he does. He just he's just going to push the other. He claims that he wants the market to be available to everybody, whether they want a gas, a hybrid, or electric. That's what he says. But he's taken away the motivation to put people, that stimulus that you need to get into the area where people now begin to accept electric cars. Now, all Carney has done is gone back to our policy with China's electric cars before Trudeau followed in lockstep with Biden. And Biden did that to try to stimulate the electric car market in the United States, which he did for a little bit. But DJT is taking away the incentives for that market to continue to bloom in the U.S. But Carney sees that if he allows a cap of 50,000 thereabouts cars come into Canada, which represents about 3% of the car market in Canada, that may stimulate the electric car industry in Canada, because these are electric cars that are coming in $35,000, which is for brand new car, that's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, and what I'm saying about that, That is Chinese cars replacing US cars.
Kind of. If the Chinese begin to manufacture here, as we've then it would be almost the same. Just like the Japanese cars are manufacturing in Ontario.
Yeah.
The cars that are being made in Ontario are for probably pretty much the North American market.
And if that is the longer term goal, then that means that we get, that Canada, not just Ontario, but Canada overall gets its share of EV production with Chinese EVs. These may be car brands we've never heard of before, and we kind of go, what? Never heard of that.
The only one I remember, the only one I can ever is BYP, which is the largest electric car manufacturer and seller of electric cars all over the world. It's beat Tesla so far. Now that go ahead.
I saw the picture yesterday of that company, but I'd never heard of it before. You've seen the picture yesterday.
BYP, oh, it's been around for a while. I've heard all about it. As a matter of fact, I went to the car show. I think it was last year or the year before, and there's a whole section with electric cars, and almost most of them came from China, and they've got a bunch of different companies. It's just like Japanese makes, or you got Mazda, you got Toyota, you got Honda, you got Mitsubishi, you got Nissan.
Yeah. When Toyota and Toyota, Honda, etc., came here, one of the big criticisms they took, mainly from America but also from Canada, was that there's the numbers of jobs here in North America was limited to sales jobs, i.e. those that were in the showroom, a few sales jobs and after sales service, right? Whereas the real job market is actually in manufacturing cars.
Well, anyway, the point here is that Carney has had to make a deal, and let's put it this way: you have to make compromises when you make a deal. You've got the entire Western canola oil market, the pulse market, and the seed market that they're talking about from Saskatchewan, all being arrested by an enormous tariff. So if Canada says, oh, well, you know what, we're going to put 100% tariffs on your car, there you go. Well, what's China going to do? Well, we're going to put 100% tariff on something of yours. We're going to put 100% tariff on your canola oil. How about that? Well, that just about kills the Western farmers, doesn't it? Look what happened when dumbass down there put the tariffs on China, and all of a sudden all the soybeans got arrested and stopped, and put a lot of pressure on the poor farmers down there. So you got to measure your time here. So Carney, where he's sitting, he's not going to help. He's not going to please anybody, is he here? If he has to make sure that canola oil starts going to China. China wants it, but they'll buy it somewhere else. They'll buy it from Argentina or Brazil or anywhere else that produces it. If Canada doesn't buy cars from it. And I think probably the Chinese have been pretty good here, because they're looking forward. They're only getting 50,000 cars for now, and maybe 3 years from now up to 70,000. And they only have sort of whispers of, well, maybe making them here. But they get the oil that they wanted, and they make it look as if they've saved face. Plus, they have put the tip of the wedge of the electric car into the Canadian market. Now, we don't find the revulsion of electric cars in Mexico, Australia, Brazil. They use a lot of Chinese electric cars. So we have this sort of idea that Doug Ford says that they're Chinese electric spy cars, which to me is preposterous. How much spying can a car do?
You can't put, what's the point in putting, a okay, so you spy on 40,000 people. What's the point?
Well,
You're just gonna get mum talking about going to the supermarket, dad talking about the football, and kids talking about the latest Tamagotchi or whatever cards, whatever they're dealing with, right?
well,
Senseless
you
stuff.
could like the Chinese could, I don't know, take data on
They
driving
could.
experiences or whatever else. They could collect data. They could collect all kinds of data to ostensibly improve their car, by
Well, all cars do that.
having the car transmit the data of how it runs, et cetera, weather, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but
But
come on, Dave.
don't
Come on,
forget
Dave.
right now that the domestic car companies are doing the same thing.
Exactly.
They have
Exactly.
began to make a process where you have to pay for certain things. They're installed in your car, but you can't use them unless you pay for them. That's
Yeah.
their idea. So if you want a warm steering wheel in the wintertime, you'd have to press a certain button and Ford will charge you extra for that month. And if you want
Well, I don't know about that. Mine's got a steering wheel heater, and it doesn't cost me a penny. But you
no,
probably
but
pay
I'm
for that.
telling you what they're going to do, what they have proposed to do, that they will install all these little extras in them, and you have to pay as you go, kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I know that from somebody who works at Ford. I don't think they're going to go ahead with it, but that was their proposal to install cars with all these little gadgets. But if you wanted to use them, you had to pay extra. So you're never without the motor company saying, "Gimme."
Yeah. But again, many cars that you've got, if you buy a car, unless you get the fully loaded version, you've got on your panel a number of hidden switches, right? There's covered little holes. So if you took those covered little holes off, there'd be a switch that just could be installed under there, which will do like fog lights or whatever you do. All right. Anyway, everybody collects data about stuff nowadays, right?
Your insurance company is collecting data. If you want to get 10% reduction on your car insurance, your car insurance puts a little gadget in your car to govern to see what you do.
Exactly.
And it monitors your information constantly.
Yeah.
So we are already being watched.
And they're not using that.
Doug Ford's objection to the Chinese electric spy cars is a bit much.
Yeah, and the issue is that of course data is collected. Like Ford collects the data about how their car is performing, because the next generation of Ford, that for whatever your car is, they want the next generation of that car to be better than the current generation that you've got. Right.
Well, their idea, the competitiveness is important here, and I think I would bring that up too for Doug Ford, who, being a conservative and a capitalist, will note that this is competition, and this is what the conservatives have always talked about: is competition. The more competition you have, the more choice your consumer has. The more choice your consumer has makes every other producer compete with the other producer to keep the price down, to keep the service up, so to maximize the benefit for the consumer. Now, of course, the counter argument of that is that the Chinese are unfair manufacturers of electric cars by keeping their wages down and by manipulating their currency. Well, we do certain things as well. So I think in this particular case, if people aren't buying them, it doesn't matter if they put 50,000 cars here or 10 million cars here. If the people don't buy them, they don't buy them. But if they come into the market and they do well and people do buy them and find that they're a reasonable car for a reasonable price, that'll put pressure on the Ontario producers to come up with something similar.
Yep. Well, and the thing is that this quota, Canada sells 1.7 million vehicles annually, and this quota is relatively small in comparison to the total vehicle sales in Canada.
Yeah, it's like 3% of this particular proposal is about 3%. Yeah. And I would like to say that Doug Ford, like, of course, he's saying what he's supposed to say, but I think privately in his mind, he's thinking, well, it could have gone worse, because let's face it, you had the entire Western canola oil market, and right now the West is being beat up and ignored by Ottawa year after year after year. Why do you think they got an Alberta separatist party going? Well, Saskatchewan's got their own too. Why do you think that's happening? Why?
Yeah.
Because the amount of wealth that's available from the West in potash, uranium, oil, and gas has been ignored by Ottawa, and they've been putting pressure on those areas to reduce greenhouse gases, because they don't dare go to Quebec to do it, or Ontario, so they lean on the Western provinces. So this is it's high time that the central government pays close attention to what's happening out west and delivers to the West. And in this particular case, it worked out pretty good and not too bad all in all, when you've got a cap of so many cars coming in from China. And I'm not so sure it was a wise idea in the first place to put 100% tariff on Chinese cars. But anyway, I would rather congratulate Carney on this one. This is a pretty tough, nobody's going to be happy type of a result, except that possibly Saskatchewan is a little bit happier, but they're probably hoping that even more canola oil would have gone there.
And whilst I'm generally speaking, I'm angry not really at China for us making China the manufacturing capital of the world, but at ourselves for making it the manufacturing capital of the world, because we blew our own manufacturing by going to China in the first place.
Yeah, this is something I keep bringing up. I remember I used to bring this up at work. I'd get into the lunchroom and guys would rage about China stealing all our jobs and going on
They're not
like
stealing
that.
them. We were giving them away.
And I would say, well, who's financing China? Who brought in the money? It was the West, right? Yeah. China had conditions. You show us how to do it, and we'll do it, and we'll do it here cheap. So the big American and Western, not just American, but American, Canadian, European investors went big time. They dismantled their factories in Canada, the U.S., and Europe, put them up in China, and the Chinese used the same sort of hardball tactics that the West had used for years and years, learned, and now they dominate manufacturing. There's a reason why they dominate things like rare earth minerals. Rare earths can be found everywhere in the world. It's the refining of the rare earths that's the big problem. And why does China refine them? Because they saw a market going ahead and they did it.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Dave.
Yes.
You've got to get off your chair. All right. You've got to get ready and warm up before you go snow shoveling. So come on, twist the body, touch your toes. Right.
I do the snow shovel shuffle.
Snow shovel shuffle, yeah. So come on, get your exercise going. Basically, Niagara Region's cardiologists are basically warning people that if we go out and start shoveling snow, we often do it. We kind of come down in the morning and go, expletive. It's snowed all night. Got to dig us out. and you just go out there with anger and start going at it, but it's not good for your heart. So you need to warm up and and actually get fit for the snow season.
Yeah, I guess there's quite a bit of people going to the emergency with heart pains and all that from snow shoveling. I think it's a lot less than it used to be every year. When the snow started coming down big time, you'd have a bunch of guys and that, oh well, somebody's grandfather died shoveling snow, somebody's other grandfather died shoveling snow and all that. Yeah, because if it wasn't happening most of the younger folk, but you're a retired guy or you have a sedentary job, and then you go out and start heaving snow all of a sudden, and you put a lot of strain on your body, and you don't know, like if it was the summertime and you're shoveling something of equivalence, right, you would slow right down because the heat would bother you. But when you're in the cold, you don't heat up as much, so you're putting normally what would make you slow down would be the amount of heat that come over you and sweat. But when you're out in the cold, those things are countered by the cold air, and so you start struggling away, and you don't realize how hard you're working.
Yeah, I've got the right tool for the snow. I used the right tool last night for shoveling snow.
Your wife?
No. I used the right tool for shoveling snow. In fact, it wasn't shoveling snow that I was doing; it was flattening snow. I just drove over it a dozen times with the Jeep.
You got 4x in the Jeep? You got 4x in the Jeep?
You got 4x. I got
that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
I got snow mode in the Jeep.
Okay. As my son came over with his Nissan pickup truck. He's got a small Nissan pickup truck, but the 4x4 in it is unbelievable. He zooms past other 4x4s that are stuck, and it just grabs like crazy. Like he came into my snowed in parking lot yesterday, like just walked right in where everybody else is kind of kind of.
Well, yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because actually that's a good thing. Is I just was looking at the snow last night and thinking, well, I'm just going to flatten this with the Jeep.
Yeah. So yeah, 4x is really, really good. The only thing I do is get snows basically, and I usually find that I can make it just about anywhere with snows. I got a RAV4, front wheel drive only, and it's got snows on it, and that in itself makes a big difference to me. And I bought the cheapest snows I could buy, right, and it still's made quite a bit of difference.
Yeah,
because last year I didn't put snows on. The first time I didn't put snows on was last year, figuring, okay, I'll just get through this winter, no problem. Well, I had my all-season radials, which were good tire, a very, very high, not a high end, but a good tire. And oh man, I was struggling out there. But this year I got the snows on, and I've got not much problem.
Well, I've never had snow tires. I use all weather tires, not all season tires, all weather tires, right? And those all weather tires are good.
Yeah, with the 4x, it'd probably work, but if you had snows, it'd be way better. But that's my recommendation.
Anyway, yeah. Right, and yes, it's cold day today because, in fact, actually, from what I understand, it's at least the next 3 weeks are going to be cold. We're not gonna get up above about -5 for the next 3 weeks at all.
Well, it's winter time. Mine is, it's winter time. So what? It's winter.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know. Nice and sunny yesterday.
I hate people. I hate my fellow Southern Ontarians whine every winter because they think we should be like California. How come we got snow? It's so cold. Well, look at the map.
It's Canada, right?
We're a northern country.
Yeah.
We're lucky we don't get as much snow as we could.
the interesting thing is about this is that if you follow the latitude of London, where I used to live, and around the world, it's way further north than we are. We're actually on the same latitude as the south of France, the Mediterranean coast of France, but in the winter we get a lot of snow because the snow goes further south on the eastern part of the continent.
Well, I heard that once Trump conquers Greenland, he's going to aim the Gulf Stream right at Greenland and not let Europe have any, and it'll get cold, and Greenland will then melt.
Well, yeah. Okay. How is he going to do that?
I don't know. He's going to build another big wall to direct the current.
He's going to build a big wall in the middle of the Atlantic to stop the Gulf Stream. Yeah. I don't think so somehow. Okay, moving
I don't know.
on.
I saw him with his dunce cap on. It looked like there was an idea going on under there.
Oh, okay. We should be worried then.
Yeah, I'm worried about that guy every day.
Right. Yves Engler says the NDP needs more nuttiness. Right.
This is an opinion piece. Now, Yves Engler, I hardly even knew who he was. To tell you the truth, I have to admit, I didn't even know who he was, or if I did, it was just a vague sort of memory. Do you know who he was?
No, but I see that he describes himself as an agitator, anti-war activist, but he was barred from running for the federal NDP leadership in December 2025 by the party's vote committee, and that's why he's saying, "Hey, we need more nutty people." Well, in a way, yes, but I don't consider probably the greatest leader the NDP ever had was probably Jack Layton. Right.
Well, this article complains about Jack Layton.
Yeah, well, but Jack Layton, there's a lot of people that wanted to see what Jack Layton was going to do.
Yes, but this article here, this is an opinion piece, and the reason why I put it on there is because it talks about the NDP, and we almost never talk about the NDP anymore.
Yeah.
And why do we almost never talk about the NDP anymore? Is because because I think Jagmeet Singh made them completely irrelevant. Now, So the Maserati Marxist kind of thing that Polyev termed.
I don't believe
Jagmeet Singh was an NDP guy that wore Rolex watches and had fashion suits, completely opposite to what you might think that an NDP guy should really be like. This guy here, the opinion piece says that we need more crazy, not less crazy. Now, you mentioned Jack Layton, and he mentions in this article Jack Layton had made the NDP more wimpy, kind of, and put them more closer to the center. This guy's saying that we need more crazy in the NDP. If anything, we need to get, the NDP, not us, but the NDP have to go and find somebody that they can rally around, somebody that is a fervent socialist, ready to spring into action. However, I read this article and read up a little bit about Yves, and I think that the NDP party did the right thing when they banned him from their leadership race.
Yeah. But again, here's the thing. So I'm going to dive in and take it to the extreme. Karl Marx was not a nutter. He wasn't, he was a very sane, one must do A, B, and C, and he had a plan for everything, right? So I don't know that nuttiness is necessarily the right thing, and I'm not saying that the NDP is Marxist either, although many people will make that allegation.
Now, here we come for distinctions. And I was very lucky that because in high school, I had very good teachers, and they explained socialism and Marxism very well. A little bit later on, I read some more about it.
Yeah.
Everybody flips out. If you say, oh, he's a Marxist, you ask him, well, what's a Marxist? Well, a socialist, then they're going to take everything you got. Yeah, you don't know anything. What is a socialist? Oh, no, man, Bernie Sanders, if he gets in power, we're going to look like Venezuela. We're going to be just like Venezuela. A lot of poor people, and everybody's trying to give you something for nothing. No. So anybody that yells socialism don't know what they're talking about half of the time. If you have an honest problem with socialism, tell me what it is and why you have that problem with it. But most people do not. They beak off like Fox News beaks off, that the world will come to an end if socialism comes into fore. And we see a socialist that just won the New York City election. And Bernie Sanders is alive and well as an independent in the United States. And he speaks very well about certain socialistic type of program. So the main fact of the matter is this business about socialism and communism and Marxism and all that is largely misunderstood and driven by agenda-seeking media.
Yeah. And how often do you hear the Republicans saying, "Oh, Democrats are all socialists," when they don't even know what the word socialist means?
Yeah,
and most Democrats are not socialists.
Yeah, well,
they're ardent capitalists, if anything.
Yeah, they're worried more about the progressives, and the progressives are leaning more to the left. Now, if this particular article says, well, you got to get back to crazy to get relevant. This particular guy, Yves Engler, went around and he's been yelling at people. He's been saying outrageous things. He's intrusive and obtrusive and completely off the rails, but he has a certain amount of support within the party. The party takes a look at him and bars him from becoming a leadership candidate. So why are they so afraid of him? If he's got the support, let him hang himself. Or are they afraid that he's going to get in? What does the NDP have to offer? Maybe the guy who wrote this article is right. The guys like Jack Layton took a lot of the pizzazz out of the NDP party and made it too centrist, enough to win a few elections, but not enough to make any real difference. So the article here in the review is we need more crazy, not less. I see the guy's point of view. But he's wrong, of course. We are sitting in a situation and a time, I don't know about everybody else, but I think pretty much the most ordinary guy there is out there. So I think my opinions are pretty similar to everyone else's in a way that I am tired of off the wall ideas like about on the right about capitalism and how it's going to be the savior of the world, on the left how socialism is going to save the world. What I want my government to do, first thing, get into power and run the business of the government within budget every time, and then thereafter use the ideals of their particular government approach to improve things if they can. But first and foremost, get in there and run the country. And don't try to get so many photo ops saying, that the world is coming to an end because an iceberg is melting in Antarctica.
And let's have a government that actually responds to the needs of real people.
Precisely. Just if a government, say tomorrow, the NDP gets elected and they go into the government, right? what's the point of changing everything? Like, what you got to do is get into government, start managing it, then find places where you could improve it. You may be able to improve some socialist programs here and there, make more education affordable, post-secondary education affordable, make the medical system better, and all these other things, but they have to be paid for. You just don't say, oh, we're going to do it. Now we're going to lean on the taxpayer for some more extra money. So what you want first and foremost is a government that runs the country. I think that's what the most people want. They're kind of sick and tired of the agenda-driven dialogue and the social justice people and all the other stuff. All they want is the government to be run correctly and then changed gradually as it sees fit.
Yeah, I think what most people want is that we spend the money in the most appropriate way, and that there are many social programs that we've got that we need, right? But the money needs to be allocated correctly, and we need to stop frittering money away on project spending where we're on useless projects where we waste money, and we got a bloated bureaucracy in our government right now, and that's what a lot of people are saying. Well, we need to cut that down.
Well, one of the first things that Carney did was start chopping the size of the government. He found an extraordinarily bloated government, and that's typical of socialism. Though those socialistic practices, what happens is the bureaucracy gets more and more bloated and more levels of bureaucracy. They're not, whereas maybe the conservatives would be paying off their rich friends, the socialists would be paying off their friends in the administration and giving them choice little jobs. So you've got, 10 CEOs of such and such a hospital when you only need one.
Well, you don't even need a CEO of a hospital. You need somebody. Terming it CEO is the wrong
Chief Administrative Officer.
Yeah. Using business terms doesn't always work for things like hospitals.
Well, they use them, and that you want a Chief Administrative Officer, just like Burgess is the Chief Administrative Officer of Niagara Falls. You need somebody that knows what they're doing, and that kind of thing. So, you do need the expertise. But what I'm saying with the socialist government, you'd get the CAO, and then there would be there'd be 6 sub CAOs, and then there'd be 10 sub CAOs, and each one would be responsible for.
Well, I don't know about that being. I don't know about that being socialist, but I know about that being.
That's what I said is that tends to happen in socialist environments. They get overladen.
I don't know.
Look what happened to the NDP when it was in government in the 90s here in Ontario. It was just overladen with more and more bureaucracy. What happened to the Trudeau government when Carney got in? He found that there was like way too much government hires. He had to get rid of them, right? Overladen more and more with the payouts of government choice jobs and stuff like that. So that tends to happen in socialism, but not to say that I usually quite often I compare them with factories, and sometimes the same thing happens in factories. But the difference is factories are industry. What happens is sometimes certain industries will get overladen with too many people, and then but somewhere along the line, the steel mill, let's say, looks at what's going on and says, "Hey, we don't need that guy, and chop them out." But that doesn't happen in government.
No, exactly, and that's part of the problem. We've got too much red tape and too much, too many people floating around doing nothing. This is my job all day.
Yeah, it happens in government anyway. Like I remember, I remember a specific incident back in the 70s in Buffalo. They were looking into a guy's job in Buffalo City, the city hall, they found a guy who had a job that no longer existed. It'd be kind of like something like the city administration of coal or something like that,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
nobody was hardly ever using any coal anymore. Now, he maintained that job for years and years. Back then, he was making 60 something $1,000 a year, 60, almost $70,000 a year, I think the guy was making. And he'd go to his office every day with his secretary. And by 9 o'clock, he was at the bar that he owned on the street. And that's where he would stay the whole day. So he'd check in the morning, give his secretary a few letters to write or something, and then go to his bar and hang out there. And he'd be doing it for years.
Yeah.
And it took the when certain people started to dig into it, particularly journalists, they found this. I talked to the son of the mayor of Utica, New York, same sort of thing. When he became mayor of New York, Utica, he had to get rid of an enormous amount of the people that were there. My union, the umbrella group of my union, the Union of the United Carpenters and Joiners of America, had a building in Washington, D.C. that had over 200 employees. When our current president went in there and looked at it, he got rid of everyone and was reduced down to a staff of about 20. So there was over 10 times as many people that was there that should have been there, all drawing salaries. So these things get out of hand. And so when you get a government, you don't want the government to add more of that.
And if the union owned that building, then they could lease out the rest of the space.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they made so much money doing that, they demolished the building they had, and then built a brand new building and took advantage of the need for office space in Washington.
Yeah.
So all they do is hold a little spot themselves, which they need, and the rest of the building is rented out. It's making our union
and it's got your union name, and it's got the union name on the top of the building.
Yes, the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners. Yeah, we've owned that building since I think it was the 30s or something, or 40s.
Yeah. So in fact, actually, that was probably a wise move, right? Because you don't need those 200 jobs,
Yeah, well, what you had was you had an administration that was costing the union hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, and turned it around. Now the building that the administration was in is now paying $8 or $9 million. Well, when I was still a union member, it was way back in 2010, I think it was. They were making $9 or $10 million a year for the union. At that point, they probably double that by now.
Yeah, the worst about government positions, though, is that it's that I write a report that I send to you. You change the name from Peter Giblett writing it to Dave and Peter writing it, and you pass it on to your boss Mary, and Mary puts her name in front of your name, and Mary passes it on to Abdul, who puts his name on the front of the thing, and he passes it up to his boss John, who passes it on to etc. And 15 layers later, it hits the minister's desk with 15 names on it. All these people have done a lot of hard work. Whereas in fact, it was me that wrote the report.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, sometimes the person that writes the report's name's not even on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I did reports for the union. And I did reports for my union, and then all of a sudden I'd see my report with other people's names on it as well. Well, what's their name on it? Oh, they're part of the committee. Yeah, but they didn't do anything with this. You know.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on from that. Okay. Oh no, Putin has been asked to join Trump's board for peace for Gaza, according to the Kremlin.
Oh my God, this is preposterous. My God, I don't know what the heck's going on. Now, we do know that Mark Carney was invited to be on the Board of Peace, and ostensibly, he is going to join. At least in principle, he's going to join. And we talked about this yesterday with the people that were on the board. It doesn't seem to me that the Palestinians are going to get a fair shake out of this.
No.
Because they invited Netanyahu to be on the board. What? And if you want a permanent seat on the board, and this board is trying to extend peace throughout all the world, and if you want to offer up $1 billion, you can have a permanent seat on the board. And of course, it's going to be run by Trump. And you get why not put a Hamas guy on the board? I mean, you've got Netanyahu that just helped kill 70,000 people, and you're going to put him on the board, and anything he says will be acceptable to the Palestinians. Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. And seriously, I don't know what this board's all about, but you can buy your way on for life for $1 billion. And I don't know. It's kind of like the money for Venezuela, the Venezuela oil money ending up in a Qatari bank. There's some pretty weird stuff going on out here. Now, the Russians, let me put this very clear. The Russians are happier than hell. Trump and his goons have said that, one of the reasons why we have to own Greenland is because we have to have it for our protection, that the Russians and the Chinese, but the Russians are there all the time, Russian submarines and everything. And what does Putin do? Or what does the Russians say? They say, well done, Trump. What a man he is. He's going to go down in history for making the United States the second largest country in the world after the USSR when they take on Greenland. They need Greenland. That's really good. He's going to go down in history as one of the great presidents of all time. And so they're stoking the flames. So this place Greenland, which is supposed to be so vulnerable to the Russians are encouraging the U.S. to go and get it, and telling Trump that he'd be a hero if he got it for his people, that he'd be a wonderful, great man to do that, and that he'll go down in history. And they're doing that to make sure that Trump keeps going because of his incredible ego. He can't help it. And the Russians know that. And the Russians want to put a divide between the United States and NATO. And big dummy Trump can't figure out he's getting lauded for this from people who want him to continue to make that divide between Europe and the United States. Every day I wake up and I think, I can't make this stuff up. I cannot make this stuff up. I have never seen an American president act like a dictator ever in my life, this bad. And to turn his back on his allies, to turn his back on the treaties that were signed, get all his goons marching on the same line.
It's okay because we know he wants Canada next anyway.
Well, of course he does, because he is right in that way. If he took on Canada, if he takes Greenland, he'll have the squeeze on Canada. And he's already said Canada can't protect. He's already started saying that. He's saying Greenland can't protect itself. Denmark can't protect us against the massive amounts of Chinese and Russian ships that are up in the Arctic. We can't find them, but they're there. And so now he's starting to say, well, Canada can't protect its huge coastline either. So we better take on that.
And that is
what he wants to do, of course, is to take on all of North America except Mexico. Yeah. He doesn't want Mexico because he's afraid Mexicans will come up into the United States. But he wants Canada, the United States, Greenland, and all that. And that huge land mass would be an extraordinary economic powerhouse
Yeah.
Insanely powerful, and those things can be done with trades and treaties and things quite seriously. But no, he wants to own them.
Yeah. And exactly, and it's about that, and it's about power. And in fact, even if you add, Canada might be the second largest country in the world by land size, but even if you add the United States and Greenland to it, I'm not sure it beats Russia.
It would not quite. No, won't.
No.
No.
So you'd still have to
Be close.
have to add Mexico.
It'd be very, very close.
Yeah.
Because once you're talking about Russia, not the Soviet Union. Soviet Union
course,
was used
of
that
course.
nobody did.
Yeah.
So, but Russia's
Soviet
about,
Union was much bigger.
what 7.5 million square miles of territory or whatever.
Something.
And,
I thought it was 8. I thought it was 8, but I thought it was 8 to 8.5. But
so yeah, so
right.
if the United States, Canada, plus Greenland all got together, it would be a very close rival, at least in land size. How much usable land, I don't know, but it would be an extraordinary economic zone. But who's going to make the money from that? It looks like his idea is to make sure that the wealthy get wealthier and that the poor people just pay the taxes.
Well, it's okay. You see, I can also see what the Trump plan is. You see, you know what you do with the homeless, right? Do you know what you do with the homeless, Dave?
You
ship them all off to Greenland.
Yeah, well, yeah. And that's the ridiculous thing too. Like Trump says, "Oh, how can you claim Greenland?" He says, "How can you claim Greenland? How is Denmark on it? Why? Because 300 years ago they dropped a ship there and they claimed it. Well, that's no claim at all. Well, how come you own America? You could say the same thing. You sent some ships over there and you killed all the Indians and took it. Who says it's yours? You do, right? Well, Denmark did the same thing. They went to Greenland and said, well, this is ours. I mean, it being either belonging to Norway or Denmark for 1,000 years, I mean, it goes back 1,000 years. And Trump says, well, you got no claim to it anyway. He's building up every kind of lie possible. And he's getting everybody to beak off the same sort of series of lies. I can't believe how much they lie. It's like, I know politicians lie, but this is unbelievable.
But again, there's a different thing with Donald Trump. It's like you say a lie, the sky is pink, right? So I'm telling you a lie, Dave. The sky is pink. Always
is pink, and I really won the last election. Two of the same.
Right, but as long as I keep saying to you, no, Dave, the sky is pink, right? Eventually, a lie repeated often enough is actually the truth. So, no, Dave, the sky is pink. The sky is never blue, Dave. Don't think about blue skies; they're always pink. Right.
Well, that's Orwellian, right? It's Orwellian.
Eventually, you believe
it's the same sort of propaganda that Goebbels had used.
Yes, it's Orwellian, but it actually has been used many, many times in politics. Go look at world history; you'll see it used everywhere.
Well, Trump is using it very effectively now. He's saying that he won the 2020 election. No proof. But he just says it over and over again, and he's got all the people marching in behind him saying, he won. And if one of his supporters says, well, I don't know about that, it doesn't look like you won, well, you get cut out. You get put aside. You get roundly criticized. So what you do is you shut your mouth. If you look up at the sky and you see it's blue, and DJT told you it's pink, and you say, I don't know, it looks blue to me. Well, you're gone, and you're criticized, and you're out of the party and all this. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to go and look at a blue sky and say, what a lovely pink sky we have today. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you end up doing, well, actually, let's rewind history for a little bit. How many people, I want a promotion in Nazi Germany. I want a promotion. I think the job of controller of railways should be mine because I'm better off at it. Well, you're not going to get the job because you're not a Nazi Party member. Oh, let's become a Nazi Party member.
Just sign here and put a swastika on my arm. There you go.
Yeah. And we go to another land. It's like, well, I believe that job of controller of farms is my one, but you're not a Communist Party member. Oh, let's become a Communist Party member then, you know?
Well, I believe that the Trump administration has taken a lot of study of the not, like, I'm not calling them Nazis, but I'm saying that they've studied how Hitler got to where he is, because they're using that same playbook, exaggerations, lies, trumped up sort of like you see what Trump has said right now, that he should have had the Nobel Peace Prize, and because he didn't get it, he's not going to concentrate so much on peace anymore. Some kind of bizarre stuff like that. Bizarre stuff about him losing the 2020 election, and all sorts of other sorts of exaggerations and lies and everything. And that reminds me very much of how the Nazis got into power, and how any authoritarian regime gets into power, whether small or large. You begin to get control of people. Like, for instance, people who are Republicans who have started to ask questions about Trump doing extra presidential things, basically, that he's overdoing his powers, will get ostracized and criticized, and they will have an incredible amount of death threats. And some Republican I was watching on TV the other day, I forget her name, she got incredible amount of death threats because she questioned some of Trump's sort of policies or ideas. So you have this undercurrent of people you don't even know start handing out death threats and that kind of thing. And so everybody else starts to shut up because they don't want any death threats. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene's had a whole pile of death threats, because she's gone against Trump.
Yeah.
But it happens on the other side too. Let's put it that way. When you get people balking the Democrats, then you'll start getting huge amounts of threats. I don't know who you say we're against. Say we're against what's her head, Harris there, Kamala Harris. You might get death threats. Like, who's doing all the death threat things?
Yeah. Fair question. All right. Okay. I think we've kind of come to the end of the day, really, on that one. Is there anything really else about, again, we're not, again, this is more an opinion piece from NBC News about Trump's latest Western Hemisphere fixation is Canada, because once again, he met with Carney, and now he's rearing his 51st state stuff. Well, quite apart from the fact that there's no practical way that Canada would only be one state in the US. It is just not practical.
I think those people with the Project 2025 mentality have looked around and said the democracy is in their way. Democracy is getting in their way.
Yeah.
That in order to really build an incredible empire, is to take Canada, take Greenland, just take it because we've got power. We have power. And like I said before, well, like the Melian example, where Athens went to the island of Melos and said, you're neutral, but you're not going to be neutral anymore. We're going to take your island. You're going to pay us taxes. And you're gonna help fight our wars. And the Melanians said, no, we don't want to do that. That's unjust. We don't bother anybody. We don't bother you. We just conduct our business. We don't fight against you. We don't fight for you. And the Athenians said, well, we don't talk justice to anyone who is not our peer. You could talk morals and justice and equality if you're as powerful as us, but you're not. You're weak. So we are the powerful ones, and we will do what we can. And you are the weak one, and you will suffer what you must. And that's exactly what Trump is doing right now. I am going to force people to do it my way. I'm not going to lead by love. I'm going to lead by fear. I'm not going to lead by justice or morality. I'm going to lead by threats. And as it didn't work against China, but it might work against Europe, because you saw how wimp back they were when it came to the EU trade deal. I'm not so sure that I am very afraid that when Trump goes to Davos and he starts ranting and raving, that somebody will be like Chamberlain with the paper saying, we have peace in our time. We leased Greenland to the United States for 100 years. And then Trump just marches in and says, mine. And just like Hitler did with Sudetenland. He said he wanted Sudetenland, the part of Czech, and it just walked right into the rest of Czechoslovakia.
In some respects, walking into Venezuela was like Alsace-Lorraine. The first shot in taking land. I say Alsace-Lorraine because Alsace-Lorraine had resources, had coal and things like that.
Well, one thing I like about Trump, in a way, not like about, but I appreciate, he's making very, very clear that he has no compunction at all about democracy, fairness, morality, or justice. What he's done is he's gone in and taken Maduro out, because Maduro would not play his game. He went in to get Maduro. He got Maduro out and his wife out. He killed 100 people doing it, getting them out. And then he just left the Maduro government in place. So the Chavian government, the Hugo Chavian type Chauvian government, whatever they call it, is in place. The same dictatorship is in place. The same power brokers are in place. He made it very, very clear that they're playing ball with him now, and he's getting the oil he wants. He just might leave them in there. He doesn't care about the democracy of the people. He doesn't care about the justice, or even if the Venezuelan people are getting enough out of the oil. What he's worried about is control of that place, and he does now have control, but without boots in the ground. What he's done is he left a dictator in place, Delcy Rodriguez, and he told her, you do what I tell you to do with the oil, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, I'm gonna take this Machado girl and put her in your place. How's that? So you better play ball.
Yeah. In fact, actually, that probably works out to his advantage.
Sure, he's got no boots on the ground in there. He's got no body bags coming home, does he? If he had boots on the ground, he might have a few body bags and some resistance. What he's done is just taking the head of the snake, and the new head is growing. It's the same snake.
Yeah. Same snake, same everything, same corruption, really.
Yeah.
And still a government that's not legal because it lost an election and was never replaced.
Yeah. So, we find that the American Republic, the thing that most people have feared throughout history since the beginning of the American experiment back in 1775, and or 1776, what got everybody so upset about throughout the years is, will America change from a republic to an empire like what happened to Rome? And we see that coming true now, don't we? Where the republic is losing its power and one man is gaining power, and one man surrounded by people who pretend to be in a democracy.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think we can call it quits at that point.
Without further ado, I bid you do not forget Gaza. We mentioned it here that there is the second phase of the peace plan, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in it because it seems like a money grab for
Yeah.
DJT, and he's got some pretty. He's offered a Russia a seat on the board of peace. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I don't. You know,
Right. Belarus,
I
he's
do.
offered them one too.
But he has to. He has to appease his master.
Netanyahu or Putin or both?
Putin or both. Both. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Anyway,
So have a great day, everybody, and Dave.
without further ado, I bid you adieu.